Senator McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. Well, the NAIF needs a bold correction, and senators like Senator Canavan, who have drank the Kool-Aid of these mining companies across the country, Madam Deputy President, certainly need a lesson in trying to understand where First Nations people are coming from in the need to be able to care and look after country, culture and kin. It doesn't help, Madam Acting Deputy President, when we think about the $5 billion. $5 billion. Just imagine what we could be doing to improve the lives of the most impoverished Australians and those Australians who live in Northern Australia. How about opening up the opportunities, Madam Acting Deputy President, to those Northern Australians who would dearly love to be able to access that $5 billion to build better homes, to have employment strategies that are long-term, consistent and enable families to provide for their families, without the kind of sarcasm that comes from members opposite who so want to dwell on their mates by punishing and rubbishing the people of the North who do their best in circumstances that economically that they are not on the same level as those opposite, Madam Acting Deputy President. This is an important piece of legislation in terms of what it could do for Australians in the North. And it needs a bold correction, Madam Acting Deputy President, because $5 billion is not something to sneer at, is not something to wave in front of the most impoverished people in this country and say, hey, look at what we've got and you want this. That is not what this discussion here in the Senate is about, Madam Acting Deputy President. There needs to be far greater responsibility and acknowledgement of the mistakes. And there have been plenty of mistakes on this 5-6-year journey of the North Australia Fund, Investment Fund, or as my colleague Senator Murray Watt has deemed, not the Australia Investment Fund. It's in this government's DNA, Madam Acting Deputy President, to make a big announcement and fall flat on delivery. And certainly the people of the Northern Territory can see that. Sure, I certainly commend the business in terms of the Humpty Doo Barramundi fishing farm, and I had the opportunity to go out there and have a look, and I think they're doing a terrific job, a wonderful job. They were doing that anyway, but they've certainly been assisted as they rightly should be. And there are people who work at voyages in Central Australia, First Nations people wanting opportunities in the hospitality industry, businesses in Central Australia who desperately need tourism to do well for that part of the country. They shouldn't be laughed at and mocked, Madam Acting Deputy President, in wanting to persevere in having access to $5 billion. But we've also seen, and it was on display this week, Madam Acting Deputy President, when the budget came down on Tuesday night, and for the people of the Northern Territory, we were told that Budget 2021 would include an additional $150 million for Northern Territory National Networks highway upgrades for strengthening and widening, and $48 million for road safety projects. But none of this funding, Madam Acting Deputy President, will hit the road in the coming financial year, and the Northern Territory will only see crumbs of the promised new roads infrastructure. But always there are strings attached to that kind of funding, isn't there, Madam Acting Deputy President? And let me tell you, I will certainly be investigating those strings. 99% of new Northern Territory funding is beyond the forward estimates. Let me repeat that. 99% of the Northern Territory funding, new monies, is beyond the forward estimates, perhaps as much as 3 elections away. So hello, what do we have here? An announcement, and no delivery, but announcement specifically for a purpose to either prepare for an election or bring about a great wedge amongst First Nations people who want to look after country. Our roads are on the never-never when it comes to this government. This will hold up vital development, jobs creation and the hope of new industries and economic development in remote regions. But what it also does, Madam Acting Deputy President, is it shows what's missing here. And what's missing is the genuine engagement with First Nations people across Northern Australia. Now, I know the NAIF and those board members on it will highlight the 2 projects that have been involving First Nations people. We talk about a mining company, an Aboriginal mining company in Western Australia. Now, I'd like to know more about that relationship, Madam Acting Deputy President, but what I'd want to see is those First Nations groups who look after country, our rangers, our seafarers, looking after the sea country, and their ability to engage in the NAIF, their ability to access this $5 billion. Where is the support and encouragement for them? Why is it that there has to be a siloed view that what you take from country is the only thing that is good enough for NAIF? How about giving back? And giving back not just with country, but giving back in terms of the cultural connection that First Nations people have with the different kinship groups right across Northern Australia, but also in the desire to be able to create a home and family life with access to funds that ordinary Australians, most Australians, have. This is what I want to see with the bold correction that this NAIF requires. The bold correction of enabling First Nations people to be consulted and genuinely engaged. Not come to last minute, Madam Acting Deputy President, and asked to sign off on things simply because it suits whoever it is that might be pushing forward a particular development in Northern Australia. We've seen far too many examples of that, and it's got to stop. Australia, it has to stop. It has to stop where First Nations people are just made to feel like that they come to the table when it suits those who are making the deals. There has to be thorough engagement. In the Northern Territory, when we see that there's only, and there is only, 1 or 2 projects that have come through in NAIF, that is not good enough for the people of the Northern Territory. 5, 6 years of waiting. There cannot be another 5 or 6 years of waiting to come. Things have to change. Stop wasting the opportunity of the North. The government's amendments here to the NAIF, when implemented, are supposed to be a step in the right direction. But people in the North have every right to be sceptical of promises made by this government. Last week it was revealed that Keith Pitt used his ministerial veto power to block funding to NAIF-approved renewable energy project in North Queensland. And that project would have created 250 jobs and delivered cheaper, more reliable power for Cairns. It's just another example of this government neglecting the North. And in the Northern Territory, we have work going on into building one of the world's largest solar farms. The Sun Cable $22 billion project in the Barkly region includes a 10-gigawatt solar farm. It's a massive project, and if it proceeds to financial closure, very well may be looking to the NAIF for financial support. But even that project still needs thorough investigation in terms of the relationships with First Nations people. And that's not to put that project down, Madam Acting Deputy President. It's actually about reminding all businesses right across the country that we as First Nations people mean business. And we would like and need to be respected in that process. So we can't let the renewable energy dinosaurs on the other side veto another key project that could drive so much development opportunity in Northern Australia. There are also many smaller groups, Madam Acting Deputy President, who want to use the natural resources of the wind and sun energy of the north. Let them do it. Encourage them. Provide an incentive within this program. So Labor's moving a number of amendments in this legislation, one of which would remove Keith Pitt's veto power, so he can't put a stop to any more job-creating projects in Northern Australia. And also, Madam Acting Deputy President, in a bid to encourage more investment into renewables, one of our amendments will allow the NAIF board to encourage projects that assist achieving net zero emissions by 2050. Would also require for-profit private sector projects to meet a rate of return in line with that of the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. And I'd like to add here, Madam Acting Deputy President, that Labor amendments require the inclusion of the Indian Ocean territories within the definition of Northern Australia. So a massive shout-out to our constituents on the Cocos-Keeling Islands and Christmas Islands, because those families there, and yes, we have a family in detention who desperately need to get out, but I say thank you to the families around Christmas Island who are trying to work with us on many issues, but in particular that one that I've raised, where we need to see a family in detention removed. So it's good that Christmas Island and Cocos-Keeling Islands is going to be, as far as Labor's concerned, hopefully included in the definition of Northern Australia. Another one of our amendments, Madam Acting Deputy President, will require First Nations representation on the NAIF board. Currently, the NAIF board is made up of Western Australian and Queensland representatives. Now, I do understand there was a Northern Territory representative on there in the initial stages who's retired, and that is Barry Coulter. But we do need to see First Nations individuals and organisations represented as part of NAIF going forward, and that is a recommendation or an amendment that we will certainly be putting forward. So, Madam Acting Deputy President, in closing, I would just say that the NAIF does need a bold correction. It has an incredible amount of faults. The $5 billion is not to be sneered at, and I urge this Senate, I urge the Parliament to consider those Australians in the north who do not have access to the kind of wealth that is clearly out there for many others, to use wisely this opportunity to enable those Australians to have a go.